My internet says I have all the speed in the world, but this thing acts like I don't. So hopefully it looks okay. We're live. And hey, everybody, this is Gary Horde, and this is the NWA, the podcast celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time. We're talking about the National Wrestling Alliance, and we're coming to you fresh off a brand new episode 4 of United Wrestling Network's Prime Time Live. And it was an action-packed show. We got plenty to talk about. A lot of matches in this one. A lot of tag team matches. I know my boy Will's going to be happy about that. There was some tag action. And anyway, I guess where are you guys at overall so far? Just started. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I should introduce you first. And then I'll introduce you, and you can tell me where you're at with the thumb, if you like that. We've done that a few times. Hey, it's Will.Daily is here. Hey, it's Will.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Will, how are you feeling about it?
Mid to low.
Mid to low this week.
Yeah.
And the doctor, if there's ever an opinion we can trust, is the doc's, and he is here. Doc, where'd you land this week?
Yeah, I'm middle. I feel like on a 4th episode, the end of a bundle, you really need to finish strong. Especially when most of your viewership is probably coming from the NWA family. And I feel like that the NWA was marginally represented tonight. You know, not to say there wasn't some other good talent, but you know, I felt like there was a lot of randomness and a lot of it felt like an indie showcase, and I really need to see more NWA.
I think that's a fair request. It seems like it.
Well, Rob, at least you've got the TV title there with you, so we could see it tonight. I appreciate that.
I'm glad you can see it because I'm looking over on my other screen. It looks like I'm about 5 BPMs or whatever. I don't know what my issue is, but if you were wondering why the TV title wasn't shown tonight, it's because it entrusted to the NWA podcast, and we're holding it during the pandemic. So here it is. I wanted to make sure everyone could see it tonight since you're getting to see it on prime time.
It's strange because even if he didn't have the one title, I mean, Zicky's displayed his peak TV title. I don't know why he didn't at least bring that. I guess he just didn't. What was the deal? He just wasn't defending it, so he didn't feel like packing it up or something. I'm not really sure. That was kind of a weird moment. But at least Rob Stinson's got it because Pope wants it, and I would love. I will buy 2 more bundles if it leads to an eventual Pope versus Rob Stinson match.
Oh yeah, I want to see that.
Woo! This junk escalated quickly.
Hey, you're flashing that title around.
I got training to do. I got to get on the Nick Aldis freaking program to get swelled up.
Star bodybook, baby, right back there.
Yeah,
got it on that. All right, well,
man, I'm in shape, but I got one of those 170-pound swimmer bods, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never gonna be no big dude like a Chris Dickinson or anything.
Yeah, getting some props in the chat for my hat I'm wearing tonight. It's a Mission Pro Wrestling hat. I'm not the only one. Look at that guy. Our boy Will's got a Mission Pro Wrestling hat as well. These actually, you know, we didn't get like special treatment except that our boy, the doctor here, traveled all the way to Buda, Texas, and participated in Hell Hath No Fury, and well, not participated in, but much to his chagrin.
Well, he kind of did.
I bent the knee. That's kind of
bent the knee.
Well, my back up. Now you see, you trapped me. That's entrapment. I did not bend the knee. My back went out precisely at the time that my queen. I mean, Rachel Rose walked by. My queen, not my queen.
We'll slip there.
Yeah.
Either way, Rob picked us up some Mission Pro Wrestling gear while he was down in Texas. So we are hooked up. So I feel pretty special about that. We're going to represent Mission Pro Wrestling as much as we can, especially since we're sponsoring them now. So anyway, all right. Well, I guess we'll jump into the show this week. Coming to you live. Todd Kennelly, James Kincaid, and Blake Bulletproof Troop on commentary. And I'm just going to say right up top, I think you're all feeling it. I'm feeling it. Alyssa Marino, where are you? Darling. I shouldn't even say darling. That feels so sexist. But no, seriously, Alyssa Marino, it's no shade on any of these guys. I liked them. They were great. They did a good job. There's something about Alyssa Marino's commentary. I just like the way that she gives the background information, and she just super impressed me, and I missed her. I missed her today, and I hope she's back. Obviously, we love our Joe Galley, but I almost could take him in bursts on Primetime Live myself, just because he's my power guy. He's the voice of the NWA, and so this feels a little different. And but Alyssa Marino became quickly, her and Todd Kinley became my voices of Primetime Live. Am I alone in that?
No, not at all. I was very disappointed when I heard that she was not on the commentary team tonight because, I really enjoy her context that she gives. She's very informed about every match, it seems like, and that kind of gave me a level. And that's not a knock on the three guys that were in the booth tonight, but I really did just miss her insight and her the way that she's just added so much to those first three episodes for me. It was definitely a void there.
Absolutely. So we had some good surprises this evening, so I want to get to those. But we start out this episode with a match that had been advertised for a little while. Brian Idol, who I had never seen before, versus Levi Shapiro with Howdy Price. Now, we did see Levi take on Dan Joseph, I believe, previously for the TV title. That match ended kind of funky, so it was a chance to get another look at Levi Shapiro if you felt like that match was ended in an abrupt fashion. You didn't get a really good chance. And also, it was on episode 1, so you definitely, unless you went back and watched it, you didn't get to see it very well because it was, in 3-second bursts. But I don't know. I like this match. It was a nice start. Not as high flying as it feels like they had been doing for their openers, but this is a nice technical match. Brian Idol has a lot of energy. He just kind of goes right after Shapiro. I thought I kept hearing a car horn during this match, and I don't know if Howdy Price had something, and I kept asking in the Discord, and nobody ever confirmed for me. But anyway, a pretty standard, old school match here. Howdy finally gets a momentary distraction, long enough for Shapiro to take a few shortcuts and get the upper hand. Idol makes his comeback, and he's working on it. He looks good, but Howdy distracts the ref just long enough for him, for Shapiro to load the glove, nail Idol in the face, and get the 1, 2, 3, and that's it. What did you guys think about Brian Idol, Levi Shapiro in this match?
I thought it was decent. I think I did have a little bit of criticism for Idol, and it seemed like he was a little stiff and a little wonky at first, but I do think he found a good rhythm, and he's got kind of that Ultimate Warrior Macho Man type energy almost, with the pumping the arms and that kind of aggression. And the one thing we didn't mention is the promos at the beginning. I thought those were great. The green screen promos, I thought the way those were delivered and chopped up and to set up the show, that was pretty exciting, and I thought those were well done. And his was a really good one, and so I was pretty excited to see him in the ring. And I enjoyed the match overall. I like the finish. I mean, it's a little bit screwy, but I like the classic, heel manager distraction, load up the glove, get the win, through underhanded measures. And I think this was necessary for Levi Shapiro to kind of bounce back from that week 1 loss to Dan Joseph for the title and kind of put him back in a winning role. So overall, I think it was good, and I think it's going to further storylines, and it was a decent opener.
Rob, how did you feel?
Yeah, I like, again, the commentators. I definitely missed Marino, but they did provide a lot of context. We found out that Idol's a 10-year veteran, but most of his work's been on the East Coast. He had been on the West Coast before for the King of the Indies tournament. I kind of thought he didn't give me Ultimate Warrior vibes. He gave me Fabio vibes, really.
Yeah, I was thinking Van Hammer.
Yeah, Van Hammer, something like that. Levi Shapiro more with an old school style. We recall Shapiro from the first episode of UWN Prime Time Live in that TV championship title bid. The big takeaway from this is Howdy Price, man. It's this choker kept reminding me of like Roscoe Pico Train out there yelling out at the from ringside, "You can't win, you can't win." But I did like
that conversation was happening in our Discord. I think Front Row, our buddy Front Row, actually brought that up. He was like, "Is he Boss Hog?" I was like, "Is he Roscoe?"
But Brian Idol, man, trained by Sabu. They pointed that out. So that's at least worthy of respect and everything. And then, of course, as you said, Gary, we had the cheap win there at the end with the loaded glove, classic tactic for someone that's trained in the old school. If you're gonna take a shortcut in the old school, why not use the loaded glove? So Tully Blanchard technique.
Yeah, we actually see seeing it being used a little at AEW right now too with Shawn Spears. So it's definitely an interesting tactic, and so I was okay with this match and the outcome. It's getting pointed out in the chat, and I guess it's worth mentioning if anybody's listening to us for news on this. Joe Galli and Alyssa Marino are going to be back apparently, so it's not like they're just gone. I want to be clear about that. People keep saying, yeah, they're on assignment. That was the excuse that was given for those two on this episode. So it was a good chance for Levi Shapiro to get his comeuppance for his seeming loss against Dan Joseph, I guess. He gets some of his heat back there. It's kind of interesting. The reason I didn't mention, Will, the opening green screen promos is for some reason, like I can leave the Fight TV app and it counts down the minutes. And right when it was supposed to start, it went to screensaver. So I thought it was just like loading. And then I saw people talking about it. And I was like, wait a minute, is it on right now? And so I went over and, I just was on screensaver for some weird reason. So I missed all the opening promos. So it was very disappointing.
Classic Gary.
Yeah. Oh, that goof. So Pope's in the back end. Daddy, he is ready. He's coming for you, Daddy, blah, blah, blah. I just say it's good promo from Pope. Pope always delivers on the mic. I'm a big fan of that. I noted here that watching UWN Prime Time Live, I don't know what this says about, I don't have any kids like you guys do. And also, my personal life doesn't lend itself to this, but I have heard Daddy more times watching this show than I've heard in my entire life. It's just from UWN Primetime Live. And this show will freaking nail it down. Like it will hammer in the word daddy for you. But Pope gets us warmed up with the daddies right here.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's some obvious odes there to Dusty Rhodes. We saw that last week with Aaron Stevens in his promo. Some blatant. I want to say blatant. Blatant has negative connotations, but very impressive and appropriate Dusty Rhodes overtures. And obviously, the Pope's interview style, his promo style is heavily influenced by the American Dream, and so that was like the American Dream. American Dream. I remember him for saying two things, man: doggone Daddy and Whirlybird. And then Funky Like a Monkey. Funky Like a Monkey. Those are the big three: Daddy, Whirlybird, and Funky Like a Monkey. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Daddy. Well, that sounds good. Moving on, we'll go to the next matchup. It's Viperous versus Lacey Ryan for the FSW Championship, Future Stars of Wrestling Championship. And guys, I don't know what's happening in the world today, if my tastes have just changed, or if I feel like every week we come on here and I have to talk about how fantastic women's wrestling is. Like these two ladies were no exception. Like Viperous walks out and I'm like, well, damn, she looks like a star. I like her. And then Lacey Ryan walks out with that swagger and badassness. And I was like, hell yes, that music, it got me amped up to watch this match. And they were getting it, son. Just solid shots on each other, very aggressive with each other. Viperous had some like hard freaking kicks in there. And I loved every time she snuck the sleeper on Lacey Ryan during this match, just kept going for it, kept after it. And unfortunately, at some point during this, I lost picture for a minute and it came back. And but right at the time when Viperous was going for another sleeper, I only mention that because I do want to talk about the technical issues at some point. But anyway, long story short, Lacey and Viper's back and forth. Lacey does end up, it's like a striker versus a grappler. And Lacey ends up throwing Viper's up with a twist and hits this knee exploder that looked vicious and gets the 1, 2, 3. And Lacey Ryan, it's worth mentioning, is going to be in the Tournament Out of Hell, possibly. I know she's definitely going to be at Mission Pro Wrestling coming up in November 6th, right, Rob?
Yes, November 6th.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. You watch it here tonight, and you might have another pick on your mind for like who could win that tournament. Like she looked fantastic, but threw the Will first last time, I think. So Rob, what'd you think?
I liked it, man. I had Tanya in here. Tanya is a big fan of women's wrestling. You know, that's kind of one of her draws and attractions to it. She thinks that well, I'm not even going to say it, but she really liked Viper's look, which I did too. I thought was cool. She's the Serpent of Evil. We see a lot of these dark overtones too in women's wrestling, whether it be Genocide or Lacey Snow or Priscilla Kelly. There's a lot of dark overtones in women's wrestling, more so even than, well, I guess not. Maybe it just seems more apparent because we have a smaller sample size when it comes to women's wrestling. But everything you guys said was awesome. Ryan won the match with a move called the knee exploder. It looked devastating. I mean, it hurt my face when I saw it. And both of these women came out there, probably the match of the night for me, number one on the card. And I want to see more of both of them, which is probably the highest compliment I can give.
Yeah, match of the night for me as well. You took the words out of my mouth. Even with the issues, I missed a couple minutes of this match probably, but I mean every bit that I got to see was really engaging. I was hooked, and both these ladies are impressive. I like Viper's. I like the darker gimmicks or characters. So I thought that was really well done. She was really authentic, convincing in that character. And I thought the match was great. I mean, the big takeaway, as we've mentioned, Rob, you mentioned it already, but man, that finisher was devastating. And I'm a huge fan of like devastating finishers. I want to believe that a finisher can legitimately finish someone off. And that was one that was just like, no doubt, no doubt. Like you said, I was hurting after that. So very convincing. And I can't wait to see more from both of these ladies.
Yeah, I think one of the things I liked about Lacey Ryan in this one is that she just comes out with this straightforward approach, which, sometimes some could argue would be like a boring thing. But considering what Rob just pointed out is that we get to see these darker aspects. Like women's wrestlers we've seen no lack of colorful characters like in the women's wrestling department. So it's kind of cool to also see like this straightforward, like I'm just coming out here to beat you. Like maybe you'd relate it to like a Jazz or something like that. Like just a tough lady coming out here to just punch somebody to death. Like she just had these hard hitting strikes, and especially that knee exploder that was just amazing. But I'm interested to see both of these women wrestle again. So, and that's been the consistent story with the women's wrestling that we've seen on Primetime Live so far. Like literally every single match from the women, I've consistently thought was like at the top, if not the best matches of the night. Next up, we had 4 minutes of heat, which is the Rock God Ricky Gibson and Freak Nasty Eddie Pearl taking on Beef Candy, which is Ricky Mandel and Richie Slade, with Flex McCallion. This is odd, I thought, because Sitz's wife calls him 2 minutes of heat, and I just thought that was interesting, and I didn't know. And there are two of these guys, so I guess it makes sense. But just interesting fact for you out there. And,
you've been waiting to say that.
I immediately.
Go ahead.
Gary wrote that on his notes. Gary wrote that on his notes immediately. Could not wait to deliver that joke. So
you're
well
right.
done, Gary. Well done.
Thank you. As soon as I saw 4 minutes of heat, I was like, I feel like Tanya has said something along these lines.
You ought to see our personal chat, man. We just roast the heck out of Gary, man. Nonstop.
Anyway,
That's a compliment, by the way, Tanya calling me 2 minutes of heat, man. If she calling me 50 minutes of heat, that means she's awake that means she ain't been knocked out yet.
I'm not sure where this is going, but
we gotta roll through this.
Let's go back to the tape on that one. Anyway, what I was going to say about this one is this is a pretty straightforward tag team match too, like kind of a classic style. 4 Minutes of Heat has the kind of had that Rock and Roll Express almost vibe for them. They've got the classic double leg scissors, or like that backstabbing move they did. Just some good double team work. I loved it. Beef Candy, more than just a fun name themselves, they just had that grinding teamwork. Like they were just trying to wear these guys down and slow them down. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough. The 4 Minutes of Heat hits the power ballad at the end of the match. Was a really fun move. And perhaps with the spirit of Eddie Van Halen, RIP, guiding them, the Rock God and Freak Nasty get the win over Beef Candy this week. Will, how'd you feel about this tag match?
Well, first of all, I think Gary's wife calls him Beef Candy, so that's applicable as well. But it was a good it was a good tag match. I wasn't blown away. I mean, so you guys know I love tag team wrestling, but it also means I'm highly critical of tag team wrestling. And yeah, there was some good teamwork and some good, in-ring storytelling going on with the teams and stuff like that. But I wasn't super blown away by either team. And, I thought it was a decent match. I mean, where it was on the card after that, the women's match just felt like a little bit of a decline in I don't want to say quality because those four guys are all high quality wrestlers, but it was kind of a lull for me. And
I mean, they throw the pieces of, I guess those were pieces of Beef Candy into the ring to kind of further the gimmick along. I'm starting to get annoyed with all these like maneuvers that like match with a gimmick as though like you're matching your outfit. They like the power ballad and stuff. I'm like, dude, why don't you just call it a freaking pile driver or whatever? I mean, why do you have to like put your own little? Why are we matching outfits here? You know what I'm saying? This is prize fighting. You don't see Muhammad Ali, going in there, or Mike Tyson like having a special name for the uppercut, or anything. It's just like it's.
So we did see the Doomsday device, and
I think that was cool. The Doomsday device was cool, but
my point being is that was a finisher for a team that had a name that would lend itself to having a move called the Doomsday device,
right? And they were a team that freaking earned the right to do that. You don't just get to win one day and decide, oh, hey, I'm going to do this rock gimmick, and now everything's going to be rock related.
I got you.
You just get to change the names of maneuvers. The Road Warriors can call freaking. They can call the Queensland device, the King's Lynn device, whatever. They're the Road Warriors. They can call it whatever they want to.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm with you, man. I feel like we're getting off on the wrong foot, Rob. I just I feel like it's getting antagonistic, and I don't mean it to be that way. I think 2 minutes in heaven's better than 1 minute in heaven. So you should be proud.
It's 60 minutes in heaven, bro. It's just 2 minutes when you're conscious. You passed out for the other 58, baby.
So next up we get Platinum Max Caster coming out, and he's taking on the Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson, the filthy father himself. And what I was thinking about Max when he walked out, I did enjoy the segment. I had seen it on social media, but I'm glad they showed it here of him busting out that rhyme for that he had for Chris Dickinson, and it's a cool gimmick. Obviously it'll have comparisons to other people, but he's got his own flow and he's got his own look. I dig Max Caster. I was kind of into it, although like seeing him get out there and taunt his way around and stuff, I'm like, man, this is not supposed to be that guy. And I guess that's the part he's in right here. He's being obnoxious and being a little overconfident, but just like when he finally gets one move and then he's like talking to the commentary team, it got on my nerves. And maybe that's the idea again. But Chris Dickinson, you don't play with Chris Dickinson. Chris Dickinson's come out and stomped a hole in every single person that he's come up against. And today was no exception. Chris Dickinson does have quite a challenge. And I mean, and so I say all of that to say that Max Caster was very good. Like, I mean, he did have a lot going for him. By the end of the match, I was sold. I was like, these two guys are good. And it was nice. Chris Dickinson hits the DVD, Death Valley Driver, gets the 1, 2, 3. And he does look towards the cameras and point to Billy Corgan and Marquez and says, like, now we're getting somewhere. It was that much better. So now we're doing something. And so it was nice to see, like, he's even saying, like, the competition's amping up around here. But, Will, where were you on this matchup?
Yeah, I'm with you on the taunting thing. And I think because it was such a stark change from, Chris Dickinson being just dominant and the baddest guy on the whole show. And I understand why creatively that was happening. They were establishing, hey, this is kind of his first real test, right? He's kind of plowed through everybody up until now, but Max Caster is going to be a challenge. And so I think that came across, and, I like the match as a whole. I mean, I think Chris Dickinson has tons of potential to be a key player in UWN or NWA or wherever he's going to be utilized more full time. But so I love him as a wrestler, and I love his continuity, like you said, of him continuing to call out week after week. So he's kind of been and I think we mentioned this maybe Sunday night, but he's kind of been the tie that binds all these shows together. Because we've had like a different smatterings of talent from different places, but Chris Dickinson has been the constant that has been there every week, and he's consistently preaching the same message of, is this all you got? I need a challenge. So I think that story is evolving, and I enjoy that aspect of it.
I have to admit, I was put off at first by the approach of Platinum Max Caster at the quote unquote best wrestler alive. I didn't like the entrance. I was like, this is obnoxious. But I was pleased with the match, man. I was pleased with the match. He's a big dude. He's bigger than Chris Dickinson. We were talking in our private chat, during the match. I was saying, dude, Chris Dickinson's about to murder this dude. And it was not like that at all. It was a pretty even match. Chris Dickinson came out a little banged up and all that. But I got to say, man, so far, as far as the non-NWA talent goes, the shining star for me in all this is Chris Dickinson. This is a guy that you almost feel like there is an inevitable collision coming between him and either Ray Russos or the greatest of all. He wants the best. He wants what the best that Marquez and Billy Corgan have to offer. That's one man, and that's Nick Aldis. So that's where you feel like this is eventually heading to.
Yeah, I could see that. Or for some reason, Eli Drake keeps popping up in my brain too. Like that I could see that match happening. Maybe it's just from the fact that they were like right around at the same time debuting on that first week or whatever. Or no, second week, I guess. So never mind. For some reason they're like side by side in my brain, and I can't figure out why. But Eli Drake and Chris Dickinson. But you're right, man. I could definitely see like if he's going to keep stepping up, and eventually somebody's going to answer the call like a Nick Aldis, and then he's going to get a real fight. The next matchup, the Bodega, King Fat Boy, Papa Esco, and Danny Limelight versus the Wolf Zaddies, Jay Cabrera and Bad Dude Tito. Interesting we're not getting a rematch. I expected to see a rematch from the Wolf Zaddies last fight. And, because that match just went, with the Tribe, they went to a time limit. And I don't know why we're not getting that yet. But it's cool because I do like the Bodega. I'm a fan of Danny Limelight, what we've seen of him so far. And, that guy's got great athleticism. The poor guy, being the smaller one here, he had to take a beating. And he could give it as much as he could take it. He had some great offensive work here, but it was a hell of a battle. But he got tossed around like a rag doll several times, including at the finisher when he did an awesome like it looked like he was going for a fly body press off the top rope, but he gets caught, gets the finisher known as, wait for it, Rob, the Satisfaction. And dang, well, there it is. The Wolf Zaddies take the victory here, which makes sense, I guess.
Back in the day, we called that the Scandinavian two-toe Gredunza. Okay?
No, you don't.
If the Gredunza was good enough for George Hackenschmidt, it's good enough for the Zaddies. That's all I'm saying.
Now I know at least what a Gredunza is, so I feel good about that. Will, you're our tag team boy. What'd you think here?
Great match. I liked it. Like you, I'm a huge fan of Danny Limelight, huge fan of the Wolf Zaddies. I loved their match with the Tribe, even though it went to a time limit draw and didn't have a finish. Like you, I was kind of expecting to see a replay of that matchup, but again, these are pay-per-views, and I don't think they want to feed us the same matches over and over, so they're trying to keep it different, kind of keep some of the same people in there, but not having the same matches over and over. So maybe we'll see an eventual payoff of that week one match, or maybe it was just to kind of establish both of those teams as equally as tough as each other, and they're going to be used down the line separately. But I thought it was a great match. Just continue to be impressed with all those guys, and would love to see more of them. I mean, Wolf Zaddies, I think them getting the win was right, and I think it was convincing, and solid tag team match.
Trying to look at my notes here. I've jotted down my notes that they gave me. The Bodega gave me Inner Circle vibes.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the match. I mean, it wasn't my favorite match on the card. I'm not going to lie. There were things that were off-putting to me, like the names of the maneuvers and things like that. They're just distractions. They don't have anything to do with the integral working of the match and all that. I'm not as huge a tag team fan as my brother and life partner Will is, but it wasn't terrible.
I do enjoy. I mean, part of what I love about this show, though, is coming on each time and just finding out what's the thing that's in the Doc's crawl this week. Like it's just and today
you can never predict it. You can never predict what it's going to be.
So
tonight it is.
What I didn't like
move
here,
names.
What really bugged me today, man, is I hate when people wear earth tone ring attire. Do not wear earth tones. This is 2020. You got all these electrifying colors out there.
I tell you, I don't know.
The Road Warriors didn't wear earth tones.
I tell you, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but in the back, from the hard camera on the back right, the middle turnbuckle was 20 degrees turned towards the south, and that is not how you do it in wrestling. That's probably something Rob would say.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They never did that back during the golden age of wrestling, man. Gorgeous George didn't do that.
Very clearly, those tag ropes were exactly 5.5 inches, and typically, historically, they tended to be about 7 to 8 inches. So,
here's the thing, though. See,
I'm writing Marquez a letter.
Cut up, but then when I make my point, you're like, huh? He got a point.
No, I feel you. That's why you're the Doc, man.
Yeah.
That's why we hired you.
I'm finally hired.
Oh man,
we're gonna hire you now that you sent us goodie bags with these cool hats and other stuff. So you're in.
Lots of love in the chat for Danny Limelight, though, and apparently he's in the finals for the New Japan Pro Wrestling Lions Break crown this Friday. So thanks, Dave Scooby, for that tidbit of information. I didn't know about that, but that's kind of interesting. So then let's go right into the main event. I mean, this is what we're here for as NWA fans. Not to knock anything else. I'm excited to check out all kinds of new wrestling, and some of these folks have just super impressed me, and I'm happy to learn and be educated on who's out there on the independent scene. I had to clarify my statement, sorry. But Pope and Watts teaming up to take on Zicky Dice and his mystery partner, which turns out to be, some people know him as Daddy. Zicky knows him as, well, Daddy. It's Effie. And I'm not sure how many people are familiar with Effie, but I feel as though Effie's a pretty prominent name on the independent scene. I've seen him all over the place. I haven't followed his career as closely as some, like as far as his actual matches. I've just seen clips here and there. So I was interested to see what he brought to the table. I should point out Zicky cut a promo right before all of this as well, and then brought out Effie. But I don't know. At the same time, my favorite part of perhaps the whole show was the cut from them walking to the ring, and then it cuts to Watts and Pope leaned into the corner, and the looks on their faces, like as they were sitting there, just like if you could put a face to WTF, it was that. It was just like, and so they were nonplussed about their situation. It looked like, and so anyway. A lot of goofiness in this one, as you'd probably expect with Zicky, I guess. And then Effie and he are definitely in the roles of Weasley, definitely leaning into the heel side of things here. You start off the match with Zicky wants Pope. So he's like playing around with Watts. Then Watts has to tag in Pope, but then Zicky tags out and he tags in Effie. And then Effie doesn't want Pope. Effie wants Watts. And it's just a whole bunch of that. And then, of course, we start with the first big move I see from Effie on a live pay-per-view. First time seeing him there. Pitches some nips. So that didn't see that coming. But anyway, I don't know what to say about this one. It's a pretty straightforward match. I mean, just these guys like weaseling around. They finally get some heat on them going after Watts. And then Watts is the big dog. It's too strong to handle, so they finally try to get Pope in the ring, and Zicky turns on the aggressiveness. Finally, looks like he's taken a little bit more seriously, and it's just a little back and forth like that. And we mentioned it earlier, but there's an amazing doomsday device in the middle of this thing because it's one thing for the LOD Road Warriors to hit you with the doomsday device, but to get hit with it off of Watts, that seems like a dangerous place. And Effie took it like a champ because he did the full flip around and that head barely gets back around. And anyway, obviously there was confusion about who the legal man was. So Pope's going for the pin. Not good enough. This gives them a chance to capitalize on Watts' leg. And long story short, we wrap it up with Pope getting a hot tag. He's going crazy with elbows, looking great. Pope's I was wondering about him in Power because we never got to see him fight yet in Power. And I was like, is he even going to be an in-ring competitor? Like, what's his thing? He was doing more of a management deal there. But turns out Elijah Burke can still go, son. He just gets after it in this one and hits that Elijah Express for the win. And Zicky afterwards comes over and just starts slapping him around in the face. That leads to a promo from Pope. But we'll get to that in a second. What do you guys think of the match overall? Rob, I can see the look on your face. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it to you.
What do you think the look? What are you anticipating right now, Gary?
Not a fan.
For me, I was anticipating this match because, I'm watching this primary like you. I want to be informed, and I'm familiar with many of these, but I want to become more enculturated in the UWN territories and that kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of talent there. I was really looking forward to seeing this. I like the Pope. I like Eric Watts. He's a big dude. It's like I was really distracted by a lot of things in here that I didn't think were necessary. And I don't want to get into all that. It was,
tapping into some feelings you weren't ready to deal with. I got it.
Well, it wasn't a terrible match. It wasn't terrible. This was the match that I was most looking forward to. I really, if I had to rate my best matches, it would have been, Vipers and Lacey Ryan. So this match kind of underperformed for me, although I thought that the evident face turn of the Pope at the end was pretty cool. And I'm thinking, seeing a series of matches or a confrontation or a rivalry there between Zicky and the Pope, that's good stuff right there, man. So I'm looking forward to that. And you said we're going to talk about the promo afterwards, so I'll hold it until then.
Yeah, Will, how are you feeling about the match itself?
It was good. I I didn't have a lot of expectations because it was just an interesting matchup, honestly. And I'm not gonna lie, and this is no shade on Effie. I'm not super familiar with him, but I was disappointed that this is gonna make me sound like a mark or something, but I was disappointed that it wasn't someone more well known. And I'm not trying to like say that mainstream wrestling is the best and indie wrestling sucks, but I just there wasn't a lot of buy-in from me for that mystery reveal. So that was a little bit of a letdown. We had speculated some other names that I think would have been a little more impactful. But I think Effie and Zicky did a great job of being that Weasley heel tag team. I like targeting Watt's leg. I mean, that's smart. I always think that's smart wrestling. If there's a guy bigger than you, zone in on a body part, try to handicap him in some way like that. So I appreciated that aspect of the match. But it in terms of a main event, and when you take into consideration the 3 main events that preceded this main event, I was disappointed that I didn't get to see the TV title at all. And so it was underwhelming, I guess.
Gotcha, bro.
There you
got
go.
you covered.
There it is.
So the promo we alluded to is Pope does pick up the mic after the match. He talks about that. Swear to God, I heard this on a podcast this week. Like I was like, my first thought was like, Pope's been listening to the same stuff I have, and I want to say it was somewhere in like a JR podcast. He made a reference to this, a similar story to what Pope was saying, and it was essentially Pope talking about how there's a lack of respect from Zicky Dice. There's no handshakes from him when you see him in the back and that sort of thing. And it's just the thing that I thought I had heard something similar to was him talking about how the thing in this business is you shake hands because you respect each other, because you have to respect each other, because you need each other. Both of you have to be there to make each other money. Like that's how you get by. That's how you survive, is with each other playing their part. And anyway, Pope saying that Zicky's basically just completely disrespecting him, and especially by what he did there at the end of the match. Pope says, essentially, gloves are off here. I'm tired of you, and I'm going to hit you where it hurts. I'm coming for the TV title. I'm going to take it off of you. So it sounds like we got a challenge issued, and Rob, you alluded to this a little bit too, but that maybe a series or whatever. But Pope is now, I guess you would call it a face turn. He's at least, I think when you build your program around the idea of earning respect, then you kind of lean into that a little bit. That seems to be more of a face kind of promo, and he wants to make Zicky respect him, and he's going to do it by taking the TV title. So that's going to be an interesting feud. But how'd you feel about the promo, Rob?
I thought it was fantastic, man. One of the highlights of the whole show. He says, here's the quotes that I drew out of there. There's a code that we have in this business. You spit on tradition. Tradition is the same thing you wear around that big fat waist of yours. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I'm going to come and take from you what matters most. Pope is coming back for tradition. And basically, we talk a lot on our show about faces and heels. It really wasn't a face turn. It was a prize fighting turn. He was coming back and saying, hey, man, you wear a trophy, much like Trevor Murdoch and Aaron Stevens, where Trevor Murdoch felt like that Aaron Stevens had basically bastardized the national championship and turned it into a prop. That's essentially what the Pope was saying. You've turned this into a prop. You're not respecting the title. You come out and say you're the 217 days champion, which I think is adorable. And for 217, cute, but he came out and he just basically said, "Look, I'm here, like me or not, whether you like antics or not. There's a certain code we have tonight, and I'm coming to take back that tradition from you since you can't handle it." That's essentially what he said. I thought it was a great promo.
Will?
Yeah, promo was great. I would argue, Rob, though, you mentioned Trevor Murdoch and Aaron Stevens. Would you not agree, though, that there's a clear heel and a face in that feud? And so
I don't deny that there are heels and faces. I don't deny that they exist. I think my argument is that when wrestling is at its best, when the biggest titles are on the line, it's best when heels and faces aren't a factor, and that's generally what the NWA does. They don't make it about heels and faces. But I'd be an idiot if I came up here and said that heels and faces don't exist. They do. Obviously, we're speaking about them. So, but it's best when they don't.
Yeah. So my reaction to this is ultimately I'm excited because we now have another NWA title feud potential match coming up. I'm excited about that. I'm a TV title guy. I love the TV title. And my issue with all this, I think, and you guys may totally disagree, think I'm off base, but I didn't buy the hatred as much. Now, in the promo, I did. So that's why I say the promo was great and the ultimate result of this. But I guess because there was not a lot of like precursor to this, that it just kind of developed out of nowhere. And I get, Zicky attacked him after the match, but it wasn't really that vicious, in my opinion. But again, everything Pope said made sense. So that's my only criticism, is that I would have liked to have a little more to sink my teeth into in terms of authenticity for the hatred between these guys. But I think Pope did a great job with what he was given, making it clear why he had an issue with Zicky. So ultimately, again, I think the feud is legit and it's going to be great. That would be my only criticism.
I'm actually with you. I kind of felt like it seemed rushed too. Like it was just, like you said, kind of out of nowhere. So I could totally get behind that. Pope's promo was on point. But like you said, he's working with what he's given. So I definitely hope that the two of them will capitalize on this, and at least through like what we saw with Bennett and Aldis, like through social media and some other outlets, maybe they could build on this before we actually get the match, so we get kind of or maybe at least even on future Primetime Live episodes, we get something from them to kind of to build on it.
And let me say too that it's not as though you have to build up to a TV title rivalry, because I think that the whole point of the TV title is that it's the belt that's always defended on the show. You're going to get a title match every show. That's what the TV title concept was when it first came out. Arn Anderson was defending that belt on every show, whatever the time limit was. So it's not, if you look at Zicky, the matches that Ricky Starks held during his reign, he didn't get to the 7 defenses, but to the extent that we used it, it wasn't like, you had to precipitate some big rivalry. So a rivalry can emerge from it, but it's almost like I would rather have them tonight instead of having a tag match. And I want to see more of Eric Watts. I like Eric Watts. I would just have said, look, let's have the Pope and Zicky Dice fight for the TV title. Why not?
Yeah, maybe they felt they had to build something up there. That is interesting. Yeah, you're right. They could have just said, "Hey, Zicky Dice hasn't defended the TV title in forever." I mean, they made Aldis defend the world title, so obviously the TV title's up for grabs. The national title's been there. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
A series of 6 matches. There are 7 matches before you invoke that lucky 7 rule. A series of 7 matches or something. You don't have to build up a rivalry. You don't have to precipitate something for the TV title. It's not like the world's title,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I do agree with you, but it seems like they tried to fabricate something quickly.
Yeah.
As opposed to just saying, maybe last week just having Pope cut a promo similar to what he cut tonight, and just say, hey, I want that TV title, Zicky, me and you next week. And right. It could have just been a one-on-one match, and I would have been probably more bought into that than I was with how it kind of transpired tonight.
Yeah. He kind of made it personal, and it was just kind of out of nowhere. Like, wow, okay, this heated up real quick. Like it could have, Pope could have just been annoyed and been like, I just need Zicky one-on-one, and that would have been enough.
Yeah.
So we got some advertisements for next week. Speaking of TV titles, Dan Joseph's going to be back defending his TV title against Dom Kubrick. I'm not super familiar with Mr. Kubrick, but I have seen him in places. Fred Rosser, who is former WWE Darren Young, and currently with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He'll be making his debut on Prime Time Live, and he'll be taking on the Master Lock, Chris Masters. So that's kind of interesting. That sounds fun. I mean, I was going to save it till the end, but let's just talk about, the real reason we're all here is Hammerstone returns on Prime Time Live next week, and he just sold a bundle just immediately. So we don't even know what he's doing. And you know what? Don't care. Just show up. Just show up, Hammerstone. Just go out there and throw somebody somewhere. That's all I need. So anyway, Hammerstone's back, defending the West Coast Pro title. Not that it matters against who, because they're not going to win. He's the Beef Castle. He is Hammerstone. Then there's something about a huge announcement, 8 years in the making. No idea what that could be. Feel free to speculate. We'll throw to the chat, too. They could let us know if they've got any ideas. But also wanted to mention, consistently, women's matches, we have said over and over again on this show, have been some of the best matches, if not the best matches, on Prime Time Live. And I don't feel like next week's going to be any different, because we saw her at Mission Pro Wrestling. If you watched Hell Hath No Fury, then you were already introduced to Elena Black, who actually defeated the woman that Rob bent the knee to, Rachel Rose. Elena Black's making her Prime Time Live debut, taking on the Killer Bay, Heather Monroe. So already sold right there. That match is going to be awesome. I already know it. Like, you don't even have to tease it any more than that. Just say the names. I'm in. Hammerstone, Heather Monroe, and Elena Black sold. And now the interesting part of that is actually no NWA names so far on that one. So that is the confusing part. But I guess we'll wait and see. They've been good about releasing stuff over the span of the week, so I'm sure we'll see something else pop up here. So I'm not 100% what's supposed to be the main event there. Besides Hammerstone, who's the main event whenever he shows up. But anyway, that's it for what happened on this week's show. We can throw to the chat and talk about whatever you guys want. Will, Rob, if you have any points we missed and you want to bring up for this last little bit, we could shoot the breeze or just address the chat, whatever you guys want.
Yeah, I do feel like, not to belabor the point, but this podcast is called This is the NWA, and we'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the lack of NWA talent this week and announced for next week. So a little discouraged by that. I'm still here for it, but maybe it's time for the NWA fam to get loud and proud on Twitter or something and start tagging those guys and saying, hey, we're buying these to at least see one or two NWA folks on the card. So let's try to make it happen. Because, all the buzz about Power coming back and stuff like that, there's a lot of excitement and positivity in the hashtag NWA fam right now. And I think, having more NWA presence on Primetime Live would be great.
Yeah, and again, this is no shade on the UWN talent at all. It's fantastic. Marquez has got something great going on there. But I guess if we're really going to, they have told us that this is going to be focusing primarily on the NWA and UWN championships. That's how it's built. And if you're going to do that, then there are several very notable feuds and points of interest going on in the UWN right now. I think of Rusus and Eric Watts and that and all that. Play those stories out instead of. And I'm not trying to back them because I've been generally pleased with what I've seen. So don't take this the wrong way, but I would like to see more of a development of the UWN storylines rather than just a showcase of talent. That you were just bringing in everybody and just getting them their 15 minutes of exposure. There's time to do that you do over time, but I want to see the NWA furthered, and I want to see UWN furthered, and I want to see those interact a lot. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's an absolute must for me that I see a lot of NWA. That's an absolute must. If I don't, then it's a deal breaker for me. I'm just going to shoot straight with you.
Yeah, James A. Shaxson Jr. in the chat said, didn't Aldis say they wouldn't be on every show? Front Row confirming he did. NWA would be peppered throughout the show. But Maureen hinted on social media today that Aldis may be returning sooner than later, so maybe next week. And he also says Aldis also said NWA appearances wouldn't always be announced and be a surprise for folks. The only issue I take with that is that this show is presented as a UWN NWA co-production. So it would be disingenuous to say you're not leaning into the NWA aspect of this, I would think. And I don't think anybody's trying to do that necessarily. Don't get me wrong. I just I don't think anybody's crazy for expecting NWA talent to be appearing on these shows because they certainly present it that way.
And a lot of your buyers are buying that, are investing their money specifically for that. I'm excited to see UWN talent if the storylines are furthered, because I can go on YouTube for free and watch Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and get that, get that out and see that. And it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. Don't get me wrong. I want to see that, and I want to see my NWA. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm paying for.
Yeah. Will, I see you over there nodding. You got to have thoughts about this.
Well, yeah, I was the one that brought it up. I agree again that, especially being a pay-per-view and my thing is it was announced and it has been co-branded. I understand it is a UWN production and David Marquez is UWN and, but it has been presented as a partnership and, to me, over the last couple of shows, at least, I feel like we've seen more representation from not even UWN, but more representation from even other, promotions that have had their talent make an appearance than we have the NWA. So I just, I'm ready to see some NWA stuff, some continuing storylines, and I get that we've got the TV title feud that came out of tonight, but aside from that, there just wasn't a lot of representation. You got to think, I'd love to see Camille again. We haven't seen Latimer yet. We saw Eli once.
Josephus, yeah. Question mark. I've got to see Josephus. Josephus is a critical part of this to me, and yeah. So, Tim Storm.
Yep.
Marty Bell. Ashley Vox. We can go on and on. There's a lot out there.
There's plenty of, yeah.
Yeah.
And even if they aren't specifically like locked in talent, just people we're used to, like that fans are used to from NWA Power, that sort of thing. James Lawrence throwing in there, I specifically spent money to see NWA talent.
Yeah, and I think that's the case for a lot of especially the NWA fan, but for a lot of even people that maybe more casual NWA fans that were buying it out of interest. And, I think it would be advantageous for all parties to really include more NWA specific talent, storylines, things like that.
Yeah. And front row
getting local talent and them saying it's true, but guess who's local? Mae Valentine, who we didn't see tonight. Eli Drake's local. You got a lot of local talent that's NWA that's living out there on the West Coast right now that can easily, be showcased. And again, this isn't. I'm a fan of UWN. I'm buying into UWN, but I have to be. I want to see the. Someone mentioned that this is a pay-per-view. Yeah, pay-per-views are where the stories come to a climax. This is where the shows come to a head. And since we're doing this weekly, that means the story has to be moved along. A lot of what we're purchasing here is narrative. It's mythology. It's the Greek story. And we've got to see that. And not that we've not seen some of that to some extent, but we've seen a showcase, a menagerie. I love that word. A menagerie of talent come through, which is great. That's great. But I would prefer to see less of the menagerie and more of your established UWN story makers and develop some of that. And I've got to see NWA talent. I've got to.
Yeah, and to be fair, Front Row's point when he mentioned the pay-per-view thing, he said he'd be fine if during the week our champ released a video to hype his return rather than an announcement tonight. So I think what he's saying is like there's still time to build. Basically, it's still possible that they build on this for next week. Maybe there's a good chance we haven't even seen the whole card, so we don't know for sure. But I think that's the point he's trying to go with is in regards to the COVID thing and who's close by. I mean, that's probably plays into a lot of things, but as Rob mentioned, there's plenty of people that are local. And I mean, some of the folks we've seen, Aldous is not local. Murdoch's not local. Allison Kate is not local.
Idol's an East Coast guy. The freaking 4 Minute Boys or whoever, they're from the Pacific Northwest. You know, they're very, very, very little local talent, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously some there, but yeah, there's people still making the trip. They're still getting in there. Thunder Rosa is not local.
She will fly anywhere in the world at any time. She will be there.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. But ultimately, Brian Rosa in the chat with us, we always appreciate him being here. He says, we need NWA power. Let's keep it 100. Listen, this is never – I don't think anybody thinks it was supposed to be, hopefully, but this is not a NWA power replacement. And I don't mean that as a slight to UWN. I just mean this is a different show than NWA Power. And, yeah, I still fully expect to someday have Power back, and we've seen the teasing of that. And, yeah, there's nothing that's going to satiate the fans like just having Power come back will. They just want their weekly NWA Power to see their favorite NWA stars on there.
Oh, shoot. My bad.
Oh, it's good to
My bad. I didn't mean it.
Giving us more viewers. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
James Laura saying, I'm still going to spend my money on UWN Prime Time, but if the NWA talent goes thin, I'll stop buying. James H. Jackson also wants more NWA talent on the UWN pay-per-views. I think it's fair. I mean, if they polled everybody, people are going to want the NWA. And again, no slide on the UWN. And I've loved a lot of the talent I've been introduced to on this show. So there's plenty of people I want to see come back. And I'm like Watts. I'm a fan of Watts. I don't mind seeing Watts whenever he wants to show up. This Chris Dickinson, who Rob has mentioned is clearly the breakout star of this whole thing. 100%. Like they saw something in him. That's why he's showing up every week, and it makes sense. The guy's good, and I want to see more of him. So it's not just NWA. It's just I gotta give us something, like a little bit, just the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you shaking your head, Will?
Because I know where you're going with it.
I changed it last minute. Do you see that?
You did.
I added the iceberg.
You knew what you were doing.
It's just the tippity tip. Anyway, the
Rob's like, what?
I'm just saddened that you haven't seen my handle yet down there.
At Hammer Stinson.
I thought Gary changed that.
No, that would be. I wish I'd have thought of that. That's pretty great, though. So props to you, Rob.
Yeah.
How about that? Hey, it's yours. Oh man, Man, that's crazy. Good job, guys. Good job, everybody.
We're here for you.
Wow.
What else has the chat got for us before we wrap this thing up? We want to know what's.
Well, we got to acknowledge the passing of a rock and roll legend. Eddie Van Halen passed away today. We're all three huge fans of rock and roll. I think many of us love rock and roll and baseball. You know, my Braves won Game 1 of the NLDS today, but many of the reasons that I love baseball and wrestling are the same reasons I like rock and roll. They're rooted in ghost stories. They're part of the American fabric. And Eddie Van Halen was one of the greats. He there will never be another. Probably most people would say he was one of the maybe the greatest, certainly one of the 3 or 4 or 5 greatest guitarists of all time. And we lost him today, so just want to bring acknowledgement to that, and he'll be missed.
Yeah, I told this story on Twitter, but I'm a lifelong Van Halen fan, and have been a musician for my whole life, and partly because when I was a kid, my parents, when I was 3 years old, they bought me the record, the vinyl, actual record. I'm not using that as like a cool hipster term. It was an actual record of 1984, the Van Halen album. So, it started back before I can even remember my love of electric guitars and loud drums and stuff like that. So Van Halen was a pivotal part of that. And man, my heart sank when I read that news today. And so yeah, we've lost a legend, man. 2020, it's a hell of a year. So it's been rough.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rob.
Obviously, so many in our network and in our hashtag NWA family, so many people were so close to him. Our president, William Patrick Corgan, of course, had a relationship with him. Josephus Hudson was venerated him, and again, there's a close connection between various forms of performance art. Wrestling is a legitimate form of performance art, up there with Broadway, with drama, with whatever, rock. That's why you got a guy like Chris Jericho who's out there as a Renaissance man doing all kinds of performance arts anytime he can, because those kinds of impulses, the creative impulses that run through their veins are the same. And Eddie Van Halen was very much a part of the wrestling community. He was a wrestling fan himself, and obviously had a relationship with our man, Mr. Corgan, and so you can't underscore how big a loss this is.
Yeah. Also worth mentioning, just to get it out of the way, I'm going to throw up a tweet a little later. I meant to do it, just time got away from me today, but a member of the hashtag NWA fam, his name's Jamel. He actually this past week, his son was killed in a motor vehicle accident along with the mother of the child, and he is dealing with that issue, and they've started a GoFundMe to be able to afford the memorial service and the burial for the kid. And we just want to make sure to mention that if you guys will just keep a lookout for the Twitter feed, I'll make sure to put it out there and even drop it in the Discord and everything. But if you can help out with that, the guy's been a long time listener since back when I first started this thing, and so it'd be really cool if the NWA fam can reach out and just anything we could do to help the guy out. I can't even imagine what that's like right now. So the debate rages on inside the chat room. Of course, we've got New Japan Pro Wrestling talent coming up here soon, but Proud Patriot USA here dropping in. If Primetime lowers the appearance of NWA talent, that will be a show killer. And Front Row, go into the defense. We've seen an NWA champion on all 4 shows and 3 NWA title matches. Come on, folks. So there is that from Front Row. James H. Jackson predicting we will get some NWA matches sprinkled in. Will, I see you had a response to Front Row here. Do you just want to address that here on the?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with him. We've seen 3 NWA title matches, but only one of those was between 2 NWA talents. So they were, and I've got nothing against, interpromotional stuff. We talk about it all the time and how cool that is. But I think when we're coming from the perspective of primarily NWA fans, it would do our hearts really well to see, like we did last week, Aaron Stevens, Trevor Murdoch. That's a continuation of a story that was started on Power. Those are two talents that we're super familiar with as NWA fans. And like, I mean, obviously Thunder Rosa Priscilla Kelly was hands down. I don't think any of us would argue this statement. That's been the best match so far of Primetime Live as a series. So again, that's not a knock on that match as a pro wrestling match. We're just talking about strictly from the perspective of NWA fans. I want to see some more of these NWA stories happening, and more of that kind of stuff. And to me, you know, that's what I'm here for. And I'll watch all the rest of it and I'll enjoy it as a wrestling fan. But you know, there's kind of two parts of me. There's the wrestling fan in me, but then there's the NWA fan in me. And it's like, if you're going to tease me a little bit, you know, I want more. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. It's not a knock on anything that's happening on there. It's just, I would love, in terms of a partnership, to see more NWA specific matches, things that can be paid off later on Power, things that can be paid off on an NWA pay-per-view, that further some kind of storyline.
Yeah, I think that, you know, in Front Row, just to give him the benefit here, he did reply, that's fair, Will, but personally I like seeing NWA title matches against outside talent on a non-Power show, which is a valid opinion and something that is also appealing about it. I don't know that I would lean into, I think I fall probably in the middle there. I don't think I'd only want to see one or the other. But having both as an option is a cool thing. I mean, obviously if I get my druthers, then we'll be seeing a certain person take on Nick Aldis at some point. And we'll something like that would be fantastic. Anyway,
well, Gary, I mean, just to, and not to strike a middle road here at all, because I don't think that we're far apart. And I don't think Front Row really is that far apart from us on this either. I think that, I guess my point is that it's not like the NWA, the continuity of the NWA has been suspended without Power. Power is suspended. Power is an environment. You know what I mean? It's a context. It's a venue. But the storylines can still be perpetuated. I think now that we have the opportunity with Dave Marquez and UWN, then it's full steam ahead. Let's drive on with Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa. Let's drive on with Nick Aldis and Mike Bennett. Let's drive on and let's develop this and not miss a step. And let's do the interpromotional stuff. We don't have to wait to do this until Power comes back. We've got the opportunity now. Power is more than just the storylines. It involves that because that's where we saw them play out at. But until that comes back, which is going to be sooner than later, I can promise you that. But until that does, there's no need to kind of halt things. Now that we've got the opportunity to develop this and move the narrative further along, I'm with Will, man. Let's do it. You know, NWA is back. NWA needs to be back. Let NWA and UWN interact, but there needs to be coherent narrative involved. Sprinkle the talent in, but let it be a sprinkling. Other than that, I want to see the UWN narratives and I want to see the NWA narratives be driven forward.
Yeah. I'm cool with them opening it up. I mean, I see the discussion about like New Japan and those kind of things in here. I'm fine with all of that. I still stand by that initially, though, when this show was pitched, I mean, it very much advertised the historic partnership between UWN, NWA, and Thunder Studios. It was like, this is a co-production. They very much, like, that was the emphasis that was there. So I don't think anybody is wrong to expect that NWA talent would appear on the show. That you would expect to have some sort of, like Rob said, an NWA narrative going throughout Primetime Live. It doesn't just have to be NWA. I don't think anybody's saying that. It's just like, if you just go without it, though, that feels a little strange when their name's on everything and they're also promoting everything just as much, it feels like. So interesting enough. And I never wanted to feel like I'm tossing shade at UWN. Because I'm not. We love those guys. So it's just, we want it to be successful, but we're also, this is the NWA podcast. So there's also that part.
Yeah.
And possibly final question of the night. I wonder what's in beef candy from Will.
Beef.
Not just a clever name. So
you heard it here.
Candied beef. Well, folks, unless there's any other pressing issues, I guess we're going to wrap it up for the night. I know a lot of us have places to be tomorrow, but nonetheless, an exciting edition of UWN Primetime Live. Before we get out of here, Will, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, at Hey It's Will, or you can connect with me everywhere through heyitswill.com if you want to check that out. Also, nwafam.com and go to our online store. Check that out. I saw Front Row got his NWA Fam phone case today, which was super cool. He shared that on Twitter.
Props to you, Front Row. Thank you.
And we shared that out. You can get yours for any iPhone or Samsung device. Those are available. And just a smattering of T-shirts and face masks and cool things like that. So go check that out. But yeah.
Rob, where can people find your nonsense? I'm just kidding. I think uber analytical and insightful commentary.
Let's see. I'm at This Is Dr. Stinson on everything. And I'm here every Tuesday and Sunday on the NWA pod. And, Piper's Nuts will be starting back up here in another month and a half. We've got a great lineup. We got some big names, including Tim Storm and Lindsay Snow is going to be on there. And we've got a bunch of other ones, a couple surprising names that we're going to hold off and surprise you with. But we got a lot of great, vibrant stuff going on. You've got the NWA, and then you've got your essential commentary and analysis of the NWA, which comes from us and all of our family members here. Most of you guys are in the chat, but we make up the hashtag NWA Fam, and this is where you find us at.
Yeah. Shout out to The Nation Show. They're co-sponsors with us on Mission Pro Wrestling. Right here on the hat. We're going to be talking a lot about those and obviously having a lot of those folks hopefully on the show here in the coming month. The Nation Show has Larry Zbyszko on this Saturday. So if you want to check that out, give the old Larry chant. But I am at This Is Gary Horn. The show is at the NWA Pod on everything. And like I said, check the Twitter so I can post out that stuff here in a bit for our member of the NWA fan that could really use some an assist. If you can do anything, I'm sure it would be greatly appreciated. If nothing else, thoughts and prayers and everything else you can send their way. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, enjoy your hey, hit like and subscribe. I forgot to say that. I was going to cut out. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the YouTube and all that. So
and use Manscaped. Use Manscaped.
Yeah, NWA Pod gets you 20% off and free shipping.
Nothing like getting it all in at the last minute.
That is what she said.
Okay. I kind of said
next week. Enjoy your great